And welcome back to Even More News, the first, the only news podcast. My name is Katy Stoll.
Why hello? Because we're starting the show. And that's a greeting that we say, hello, I'm Cody Johnston.
Hi, good to see you.
And that's the end of that part.
Jonathan is also here.
Hi.
There's a mighty contingency that we're going to click away if Jonathan was not here, but he is here.
Stick around.
Watching
folks.
news is still happening regardless of my whereabouts.
Before we talk about holidays, I just want to say to all of you cuties out there, on Monday, I wore my friend's hat, Public Lands and Public Hands hat, and you guys sold her out within hours.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
That's incredible.
So if you placed an order, she ordered more, still will be available, but
That's so cool.
good job.
Congratulations. Thanks, everybody. We got merch, too. Check it out.
I know I did debate wearing the Some More News hat and telling you guys we have those for sale.
We have many merches.
but-
You clearly have a lot of money sitting around. But,
Oh, you guys like hats? Well, we got them. Holidays, boy, do we have them. Friday, May 23rd, National Lucky Penny Day. Treasury Department says it will stop minting new pennies after the current blank templates used to create them run out in early 2026. Okay.
We've have an entire episode. Well, not an entire episode. There's not like 40 minutes to say about the penny, but we do have an episode where we talk about how we should get rid of the penny. So, you know what? That makes it all worth it. Thanks, Trump, for doing. Ugh, yeah.
Well, I guess there's nothing left to do but talk about the news, and thank goodness there's so much of it. And beautiful, big, beautiful news. Big, beautiful bills full of news.
Yeah.
Big, beautiful. Jonathan, take it away.
yeah. I thought it was so funny yesterday when I saw that it's called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which is a little redundant and stupid.
Wait.
What?
They like officially, like for real?
Officially.
Yes, it is officially called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Cody has taken off his headphones. Cody has left the podcast.
I don't like
The OBBBA.
Abba.
Abba. Oba.
Abba. Uba. Abba.
Uba.
Uba.
You
Did
say
you guys
Abba. I say
You guys
Uba.
know my
Right.
Dave Letterman at the Oscars 30 years ago thing? Who cares?
like, are you doing like
Leave it in.
Star
I'm doing
Wars
Oprah Uma.
characters? What's going on?
Okay, so the thing passed. It passed 215 to 214.
I hate it.
2 Republicans voting no, and 3 Democrats voting not being alive anymore.
This
on
is. I
planet
thank you
Earth.
for saying that, because this is remarkable. This is by one fucking vote. We lost 3 in the past few months.
Lost 2 in a week.
Like this is, and we'll talk about how relevant and important this is. And I brought this up to you guys yesterday. I also think it's just terrible luck that we keep having. You know, there are many old members of the Republican Party in the House, and it just so happened
keeps them young. The evil keeps their heart
it
preserved.
appears that evil is just like makes your heart pump clean,
Juices you up,
and it does wonders for your liver. These Sylvester Turner, Jerry Connolly just died this week of cancer, and he just happened to die the more like 18 hours before they voted on this bill, and his vote could have required them to make more concessions to whomever in their party to get Thomas Massey and the other guy on board.
The second you're diagnosed, why aren't you stepping down and then having an interim person place? That's not the point of that. We're going to talk about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, but I just keep thinking that like the level of.
I mean, you know, you're in the position and stuff, and that's where you've been building to your entire life, and it's hard to let go of the power, hard to let go of all the things about it. Like, I'm not saying like good, but like they're the like general
I understand.
reasons.
I understand that. I of course understand that, but this is a very important job. Lives are at stake. Everything's at stake, and I'm sorry. If you are sick, you should stop. Give the hand the reins over.
this was a conversation months and months ago too. Like obviously like AOC should have been in that position, the committee position. All these sort of things are emblematic of it. And Jonathan, to your point, you're right. Like the Democrats don't have like a monopoly on old as fuck people being in their party. Obviously, if it weren't for Biden, Trump would be an extremely old president. We wouldn't be like, oh, he's younger than Biden. It's just, it is unfortunate timing. And it's also frustrating because I see a lot of like, wow, even like every single chance you get, you blame the Democrats for this and this and this. And it's like, we're not blaming them for like letting the bill pass, but these are issues that have been brought up time and time again as being problems that will become bigger problems. And as they become bigger problems and we're proven right, it's important to point that out and point out like what led us there. And I also just find it not gross, but just like unhelpful to frame it like any chance you get, you blame Democrats. Well, yeah, they're the defense. You can criticize your defense so they get better. It's their job right now. And if they're not doing a good job, then you can point out those reasons.
Mid-season trade.
Well, yeah. I mean, to continue this analogy, you might point out things that the other team did well. Like, it was just their day, they beat us and stuff. But like, that's all coaches do. Not that we're coaching the Democrats. Right. Maybe we should. But like, all you can do is say, here's what happened. And like, I don't think just because you're 70 that you should step down, or just because you have cancer, you should step down. Sylvester Turner was both. And the chips just keep happening to fall in the way where Ruth Bader Ginsburg died at the worst possible time. These three, I think it's like 6 Democratic House members have died in the last 13 months, and 3 since Trump got inaugurated.
3 since Trump, yeah.
It's just brutal, and they're taking advantage.
You're right. Just because you're a 70, just because you get diagnosed with something doesn't inherently mean like, oh, you're not fit. But counterpoint also, depending on the severity of the diagnosis or whatever you're dealing with, I think you deserve time to focus on your health. And this job is stressful and not conducive to healing, not conducive to keeping you healthy in general. You've got to have this bill passed in the middle of the night. You're sacrificing your health and maybe your last weeks of life to just hold a position of power and ultimately be counterproductive to your own goals. So it's tricky, but
it's a stressful thing to have to do to your body when your body's already under a lot of stress. So you can't.
Let's talk about what's in.
Let's talk about this.
We're not here to talk about the
one big pile of dog shit.
I don't mind talking about it because I think it's a very important issue, but more important, here's what we're facing.
Actual effect of it. Exactly,
we talked last week about a lot of the bad things that are in here that are still in here. So go back and listen to those things, right? It's going to take Medicaid away from millions of people. It's going to save a bunch of money by cutting programs and giving that money mostly to rich people. They're getting the bulk of these tax cuts. I want to point out first that the Medicaid work requirements in here are so rigid, and they require states to have their new systems for the work requirements set up by the end of 2026, which experts say is not a thing that's going to happen.
I know there's an engineer and some programmers that are available now, actually.
Well, right, but it's
Grok, is this true?
Yeah, at Grok. Can you do this by December 2016?
Is your boss free? Does he have more free time? Sorry, continue, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
Right, so a lot of people who should be eligible for Medicaid, even with the work requirements, are going to be thrown off because of how tricky it's going to be to renew and reapply, et cetera, et cetera. So millions of people are going to lose healthcare.
It's an example of like waste. Like it's a waste of time and effort. Any work requirement like this is just like, that is unnecessary. It creates more roadblocks, it creates more steps, and it creates more like paperwork and all these things that I thought that they didn't like having to deal with. I thought we were trying to reduce the bureaucracy.
And it also bans Medicaid and Obamacare plans from covering gender transitions for everyone. The original text of the bill had the phrase "for minors" at the end of the ban on gender transition treatment, and it removed those 2 words. There's 120 million people estimated total who are on Medicaid or an Obamacare plan right now who lose that access.
So deeply upsetting.
Because they're liars.
It's always been this whole conversation has been about like, maybe not the whole. There's plenty of people that are just fucking outright bigots in every way imaginable. But the line that has been sold, which is already bad enough, is I just have concerns about minors. Can't they wait till they're 18, etc. We all know the reasons why that.
I support it after 18. Like, it's fine. Do what you want. We're a free country, and so on and so forth.
And that is just right out the window.
It's always been clear that that's the lie.
I know.
Not to say you didn't know that, but
I know.
just to point
know.
that out. Like, it's always been clear. It was always a lie. Listen to any of the freaks at the Daily Wire. They've made it clear the actual position of the entire movement.
Matt Walsh in many ways is the most honest one because he will come out and say, actually, I don't think anybody. He'll say that on Joe Rogan, right? I don't think anybody should do it.
He says on Joe Rogan, Knowles says it about the eradication of the entire ideology or whatever, however he likes to phrase it. It's just always sort of been an obvious thing. Even like Matt Walsh, after the election was like, yeah, by the way, obviously we're going to do Project 2025. Obviously that was a lie. Ha, 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 ha.
Surely it at least this bill doesn't add to our national debt.
Well, we can't do that. We're trying to doge everything. Get rid of the waste and the fraud and the spending. Too much spending.
They were so concerned with our debt, right? But so surely this reduces our debt.
Yeah, Elon's $2 trillion savings didn't come to fruition, but this bill will add $2.4 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years. And look, we don't typically complain about the debt on the show. The money is fake, et cetera, et cetera. I have started reading some troubling things about when the level of spending on the interest of that debt exceeds how much you spend on Medicare or defense on Medicaid and in the next 15 years, Social Security. I can't say what happens then. So I definitely don't want to weigh in on like, now I care about the debt,
right.
But like, seems bad. And hypocritical.
Well, and they're cutting stuff that we need and adding shit to the military and doing all this. Like it's also bad spending, you know?
The crux of this is there's so many people that I have talked to that support cuts, that support Trump in some capacity, primarily because of the national debt. They're very concerned about it, and they support cutting things because you don't want to add to the debt. And after all of this, we still are.
Well, right. They've never actually cared. Once they get in office, they never actually care. They always add to it. They want to raise the debt ceiling. It's just a issue for them that they can say the spendocrats.
Always. It's always how it's been.
So it's not like I've changed my position personally. I agree. Like, that's never been a huge concern of mine. For the things that you're pointing out are potentially things that we should be concerned about and be aware of. But at the core of what I'm trying to say is just point blank. That was the whole justification. And they're not doing it. They're hurting the country and not even saving the fucking money.
This is kind of a side thing about their obsession with cutting. But did you see Elon get asked that question where someone's like, hey, you only cut 160 billion. Are you ever going to get to that 2 trillion?
The number currently on doge.gov is $170 billion. That's a big change. What happened to the 2 trillion?
Well, do you expect it to happen immediately?
Well, is it going to happen? Because Doge is supposed to run till next July.
Your question is absurd in its fundamental premise. Are you assuming that on day, within a few months, this an instant 2 trillion saved?
No, not at all. I'm just asking, is that still your aim then? Is it still your aim to get to 2 trillion?
Have we not made good progress given the amount of time?
Well, yeah, he responds poorly because he seems very defeated, actually, in that conversation. But yeah, he was like, I reject your premise. And then she's like, okay, but like if you're, what is it, like 2 billion a day or whatever, they're averaging, although that is also, points of contention there. But let's say 2 billion a day, she pointed out like, okay, but if you keep that pace, you're still not going to make that 2 trillion by your deadline. And he said, I believe this is like NPC dialogue tree stuff. You're just doing NPC dialogue.
NPC dialogue tree.
Like literally, that was his response.
You're talking to like a serious reporter. What the hell are you talking about, dude?
He doesn't know. He doesn't
You're
know. He just
using
knows
your
what
like little video game language. You're talking to a reporter who's asking you a serious question about something you said you were going to do.
with concrete numbers and like dates and information again from him. It's absurd. If anything, obviously he's doing the NPC dialogue tree by saying yes, an NPC dialogue tree. Oh, you mean that thing you always fucking say? God.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Anyway,
we got sidetracked.
the one big beautiful bill.
Oh, and another way this is going to really help rich people is that they did agree to raise the SALT deduction cap to $40,000 up from $10,000. This will not exclusively, but primarily help people in the top 20% because, of course, they pay more local taxes that they then don't have to pay federal taxes on. You know, they were able to do that and get Mike Lawler's vote. Right?
Got yeah.
Man, it must be so great to have leverage. These guys get leverage for like a few days and then get something out of it. And
there's nothing to be learned from that.
Then the Republicans do that. They do it. They do it over and over.
Don't think too hard about that.
I'm thinking so hard about it though.
Forget about it. Ignore it. It's not relevant to the games of politics. Sorry.
Do you know if they left in raising the child tax credit?
Yeah, they are.
That's good.
That
I mean,
part
that's
is
good.
still in there.
And
They're raising it $500.
They're also they're not calling it baby bonds, whatever, the $1,000 baby check thing.
Is that still in there?
Yeah.
I think so, but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure last I checked it was still in there, but the only change was instead of calling it a MAGA account, which is what it was called, like your money goes into your MAGA account, they did a find and replace ostensibly and changed it to a Trump account. Is what it's
very
called.
good.
So
I was
that is
about
the
to say, I
change.
guess I should go have a baby, but never
Sign
mind.
the checks, man.
Yeah, I think it's still in there. And that was the only change.
Trump could legitimately get Medicare for all done if it was like everyone will love me forever and do this and the Republicans will
If
do
he wanted
whatever
to
said.
and bullied people enough, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even know that it would be worth all the horrible stuff he's doing, right? Who can say the cost benefit of giving $100 billion to ICE, but then also Medicare for all? But like
He could.
He probably could, but it would still, like, this thing, it would still be exclusionary. It would still
Yes.
have horrible implications in some ways. They'd find a way.
They're evil. It'll keep them alive forever.
Okay, shall we move on to some more news? Or even more news? Even more news.
So two people, Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, they were staffers at the Israeli embassy. They were shot and killed on Wednesday night in Washington, D.C. as they were leaving an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum held by the American Jewish Committee, which is a pro-Israel advocacy group. Local authorities said the suspect shouted, "Free, free Palestine," after the shooting. Another witness said that he said, "I did it for Gaza." So that's bad for everyone.
It's horrific. Before we talk about this, because it's obviously incredibly nuanced and tricky, it's awful. It's horrific, and I do feel sad for these people, for their families. It's heartbreaking, and also immediately the chorus is just shouting out from the rooftops that this is because of people protesting against the genocide, against what's happening in Gaza. And it's so it's unfair, and infuriating. This whole thing, like, nobody's denying the rise of anti-Semitism, and it's disgusting and it's horrific. And again, you're conflating two different things together, which just makes it even worse. And to say that this is because of people speaking out and protesting instead of the actual horrific war crimes that are occurring is just really demoralizing. And I also want to create space and acknowledge that this was this is horrific and it's a terrible thing that happened. Multiple things can be true.
Yeah. The after the response to this is going to be very dangerous and
it is dangerous. Yeah.
Bad, probably. I'm already seeing people say that, like, if you called this a genocide, then it's your fault as well, or even using the phrase "Free Palestine," which allegedly the shooter used. We're already seeing Congressman, who was it, Randy Fine, saying that the Palestinian cause is an evil one. And he weirdly brought up nuking Japan twice.
Well, I think it speaks to the importance of the only end of the conflict is complete and total surrender by those who support Muslim terror. In World War II, we did not negotiate a surrender with the Nazis. We did not negotiate a surrender with the Japanese. We nuked the Japanese twice in order to get unconditional surrender. That needs to be the same here. There is something deeply, deeply wrong with this culture, and it needs to be defeated.
What?
Yeah, he didn't directly say we should nuke Gaza, but the implications pretty terrifying. Again, as a result of one person's politically motivated actions. You know, I don't want to be the Jewish person who says on the show, you know, we don't know that this was an anti-Semitic attack. It was a politically motivated attack, but just because you're anti-Israel doesn't mean you're anti-Semitic, right? I don't want to have to do that.
That should be your responsibility. I'll say it if you want.
But no, but like to say to hear Trump and Netanyahu, and then we'll talk about the Jonathan Greenblatt quote, to hear it be weaponized so quickly against a movement and against a people is pretty terrifying. This is one disturbed individual who should absolutely not have done what he did. He killed two people, one who was 30 and the other who was 26. Apparently, he was going to propose to her next week, and their lives are over now. And that's disgusting and awful, and it does not help his cause at all.
No, it makes it worse.
But I really wish we could take a step back and see it for what it is, which is, you can call it an act of political terrorism if you want, but to immediately say this is a hate crime because he said free Palestine. And look, he was outside the Cultural Jewish Museum. Like, it very well may have been motivated by anti-Semitism. I haven't looked at his socials. We'll see. But this is what the Anti-Defamation League does, and this is what the government of Israel does, is they weaponize any crime against a Jewish person as an example of anti-Semitism, and thus an example of why the Free Palestine movement, or showing sympathy for Palestinians at all, is conflated with anti-Semitism. That's why they're saying Miss Rachel is an anti-Semite and is aligned with Hamas, because she meets with a little girl from Gaza who has prosthetic legs now because hers were blown off by the IDF.
Which we don't have this kind of reaction about when that happens.
Right. Not to both sides this, but or other side this, but libs of TikTok never has to take accountability. Tucker Carlson never has to take accountability when a fan of theirs does something horrible. I don't know if who this person was a fan of.
Yeah, and real quick,
I'm just feeling really emotional about it today. It just hit me talking about it. Jonathan, thank you for saying all that. I mean, it's just, everything's so fucked up.
And so, we've talked about this before, and this conflation, and if you are saying that any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism, then you're conflating these things that aren't the same thing, and then you arrive at where we are now. It's very, very dangerous. And even the Randy Fine in his quote said we need to condemn and call out Muslim terrorism. That came out of left field. What are you talking about? It's just a very, again, this weird double standard. Imagine somebody being we need to condemn Jewish terrorism. That's just, you wouldn't say that. Because of course you wouldn't. And so it's just an impossible conversation to have.
Yeah, we haven't been talking about Islamophobic attacks by Israel over the last year and a half. I'm sure there's a lot of Islamophobia at the top of the Israeli government.
Yeah, they say it all the time.
Right, but we don't
hear it all the time.
But we don't talk about it as that kind of hate crime. We talk about it in political terms. We should play this clip of Jonathan Greenblatt. He's the head of the ADL, and he blames Hassan Piker.
All of us need to call it out. I'm thinking about the New York Times doing a gauzy profile a few weeks ago of this gamer, Hassan Piker, who regularly employs awful genocidal rhetoric against Jewish people in the Jewish state. Like, extremists should not be empowered. People who spout prejudice should not be platformed. This is a moment when we need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, we've got to stop this because the consequences are deadly.
Hassan does not share genocidal language toward the Jewish people. He added and the Jewish state afterwards, which is, again, he criticizes the nation of Israel for doing lots of bombings and killings. That's what it is.
And proudly doing it. And like talking about all the time and how like we need to like level and destroy all the monsters or whatever, you know, whatever it is that day.
Right. That's just a grotesque misinterpretation, outright lie of what Hassan has been saying this whole time, and also failing to mention that in this clip, at least, that Hassan was detained at the border trying to enter the United States because of his social media and his work, and questioned for hours about his posts and all of this, which is horrific and scary in its own right. But no, of course, that's not going to be a topic of importance to them in this conversation.
Well, yeah, because right now it's like, this kind of happened on October 7th as well. We don't get to talk about the tragedy at all because immediately we know the implications, how it will be weaponized, the reign of death that comes after this, the disproportionate reign of death. And I think, you know, and we've said this before, that weaponization is anti-Semitic. The forced conflation of me and my secular Jewish identity with the state of Israel is anti-Semitic and also just wrong.
Yeah, it makes people less safe. It's, as we talked about.
As we're seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's escalatory. So I'm very sad that this happened, and I feel awful for these people and their families and whatever comes next.
And whatever comes next, you know.
I feel so sad for them. I feel so sad for everyone in Gaza. I feel sad for people being targeted. I feel deep anger at the misrepresentation of what is actually a call for peace, which is actually a call for humanity. And I feel like upside down all the time.
I will say, speaking of Miss Rachel, everybody, if you do want to have a little bit of hope in your life, there's this wonderful video of her singing with this young girl from Gaza. I know it's,
and I think that girl, it's like very brave of that girl's mother. I mean, like her and her mother are on this video. If that gets, if Trump sees that, you know, get them out. They're refugees.
I know.
Here who escaped Gaza after their home was destroyed.
But it is a really, it's, you know, it's bittersweet. It's not, it's
worth watching.
It's worth watching
powerful.
though. It's very powerful. It's a beautiful little video. I can't recommend enough.
We have to do this for all kids because they all deserve that.
Lighten up, everybody. We're going to talk about the dumb guy.
Broken record here, but something that would have been a remarkable scandal for any other president if they did this is the third, fourth, whatever story this is.
Shocking, honestly.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa was in Washington, D.C. He met with Trump yesterday. They had their little Oval Office meeting. Cameras, reporters were there.
Elon got to glare at him.
Yeah, Elon was there.
Everyone loved it.
And at one point in the meeting, Trump is like, you know, dim the lights and then shows this long video sequence. And there's a lot of stuff in this video. And at one part, he shows footage of white crosses lining a country road and filmed from above.
Now this is very bad. These are burial sites right here. Burial sites. Over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers.
This is so absurd.
Wonderful narration.
It's true though, right? Surely he's being accurate.
That is footage in South Africa. It is a memorial for white farmers. Not every cross. It is a memorial for 2 white farmers who were killed in an apparent armed robbery. Again, a horrendous tragedy, but not an example of white genocide. People who were killed in an armed robbery for which people were arrested.
Terms like genocide have definitions and like
Yes.
sort of requirements, and it's not just like an armed robbery.
So typically the UN, historians, genocide experts, international bodies weigh in on what is
Like
and
human
is
rights
not
groups
a
and
genocide.
stuff.
They tend to like base it on historical trends and definitions. So he lied or didn't know if he thought each of those crosses
He probably just repeated what
represented.
Musk
Was
told him.
told him.
Because I
Miller,
assume
Musk,
Musk
yeah.
cut this thing together, right?
He also held up a printed out article, like someone printed out an article for him of a gravesite, and he showed the photo and said, look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all white farmers. But the photo was of burial sites of women in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the South African president, to his credit, pushed back and said, I don't know what this is, or, Trump could learn from listening to the South African people, et cetera.
Well, it there? I don't know the guy's name. That South African billionaire was in the room and saying, because there were other parts of this video of people talking in clips and basically saying like, that doesn't represent what's actually happening. That's one small group. And
there were clips of the EFF, which is a political party in South Africa that holds fewer than 10% of seats in the National Assembly. And there is footage of them doing the kill the boar chants, which you can ask Grok about. South African courts have ruled that it is not designated as hate speech on the basis that it is a historical liberation chant.
Activist courts.
Not an incitement to violence, but I'll concede that it says kill the something.
Mm-hmm.
So fine, like whatever. It's a political party that is not in control in South Africa.
None of us live there, have ever lived there. This isn't the country that we know all the ins and outs of everything. But by all reports and all understand,
All grokkings.
There is violence, there is upheaval, but it's not targeted at one group over another. And this is if you're to listen to the people, the president, this is a manipulation of the facts and the reality there being politicized by Americans.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's weird. Genocide is again a definable thing. It clearly
We have the genocide going
This
on.
is just
multiple.
like the David Saxes and Elon Musk of the world are like, we got to do something about this fake thing. If they're getting rid of the entire like refugee relocation program, but they're doing it for these people for this fake problem. It's just, I don't know. It's just really gross. Even the reporter asked him, like, does he think it's a genocide? He's like, I haven't made up my mind. Then what was this?
Then what did you do?
Then what?
Why did you do this?
What?
Also, you're the president. Like, when can the president get out there and be like, I don't know how I feel about this thing yet, but we're talking about it very heavily here. You're the president.
He's waiting to see how all of this plays.
But there's a thing. You're showing footage of what you claim is a thing. You say you've never seen anything like it.
But you haven't made up your mind.
Has he looked at Gaza?
But like the very act of
beachfront
this,
property.
yeah, he can't wait. The idea of like dim the lights, we're going to show this video. Like you're presenting that it's real. The entire event, the entire point, everybody like on the right tweeting about it is like, look, this is what I voted for, to do something about the white genocide. Everybody is saying that it's a real thing around you, and you're asked, and you're like, I don't know. Then go away, leave, stop it.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't weigh in on this. I'm not an expert, so maybe I should turn this over to someone who knows a lot about it.
Yeah.
Elon Musk?
Maybe I'll toss it to the most charismatic man in the room, Elon Musk, who can
Also,
definitely
he doesn't
explain
really
this
seem to be stepping down, does he? He's always around still, Mr. Musk is.
He's a lingerer.
He is a lingerer. He's like the guy that invite him over. There's like a dinner party at your house and everyone leaves at a reasonable hour, but he's the person that's still there. And you're like, oh, it's getting real late, isn't it?
And he's like, watch me twirl these plates on my finger.
Yeah. But then he makes the clutch decision to order pizza at 2 a.m. So...
Oh my God!
It was the other guy who did that. But I can never not. I can't not.
One of the funniest tweets ever. Okay, should we do a little good news? The Supreme Court was deadlocked 4-4 in a case involving the creation of a faith-based charter school in Oklahoma. It would have been the first religious school in America to be completely funded by taxpayer money. It was an unsigned order. First of all, it's 4-4 because Barrett recused herself because she was involved with one of the schools that was working on this school. So a person who I guess has some dignity.
It's wild. Some of the Barrett stuff, like everyone's like, what? All right.
I mean, yeah, she would have been the deciding vote on this. And she's like, no, I'm not supposed to weigh in on this. And I have integrity, unlike two schmucks here I could think of.
I'm not saying that I love her or agree with everything, but I have been pleasantly surprised.
It is interesting to see all the cat turds of the world be like, we got to impeach Barrett. Like, look at all the women on the court ruining it for us. So pathetic.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
We don't know specifically because it was unsigned. We don't know who joined the liberals. Probably Roberts. Although Roberts has wanted to have Christianity and religion have a bigger role in public life. But at any rate, it was 4-4. They can't do this school. And so it goes back to how it's been, which is that public money can be used for vouchers, et cetera, but like, it's not going to destroy public education in America. Good news.
Good news.
That is great news.
Excellent stuff. A judge also blocked the dismantling of the Department of Education for now.
Yeah, it's all for now.
Every time like a judge blocks it, okay, well, what are they going to do about it? But yeah, we'll see for now.
Judge has ruled that Trump can't bulldoze Disney World for now.
For now.
There's it's still idling out in the parking lot.
Yeah, they're waiting. They're revving it up. Lot. He's in there. He's doing his little pose, his little truck pose.
Do you think I could take this bulldozer and just drive the hell out of here? Yeah, get the hell out of here. I had a great life.
I could end it all.
No, it's good news. Thank you, Amy Coney Barrett, for doing the thing that the Code of Ethics in the Supreme Court says you're supposed to do, but there's nothing holding you to do.
Imagine that.
The way like Alito has never recused himself. He's like,
why would he? He doesn't have to.
All right, so there's this guy named Casper Ericson.
So we're going from good news to bad news again?
Yeah, no, sorry. I only had 2 to 3 minutes to do the good news. Now we're back to bad. Casper Ericson was born in Denmark, but he has lived in the United States for more than 15 years. He lives in Mississippi with his wife and 4 children, and he went into a naturalization meeting at the immigration office, and ICE, it was a trap. ICE was there to detain him. Because in 2015, he neglected to submit Form I-751. And even though his immigration process continued for years and no one ever told him that this would be a problem, because of that, he's been in ICE detention for more than a month. And he lives in a Geo Group private facility where he says he's lost 25 pounds in the last month, though otherwise he has not been mistreated and the food is okay. Some immigration researchers told the Mississippi Free Press, who reported this story, that a lot of people who are keeping their immigration meetings are getting detained because it's just easier to get them than do these ICE operations that we don't have the money or manpower for.
Yeah, it's much cheaper, isn't it?
And optics-wise, you can do it usually like indoors and things like that instead of the raid.
Mm-hmm. How do you expect people to show up for the meetings that you say that they need to have if they're afraid of getting disappeared the second they step into their meeting? Also, not for nothing, it's just also fucking sad, but this form that they didn't submit, they apparently, his wife had just had suffered from a stillbirth. So they were grieving and going through an immense tragedy for their personal lives. And there's a form that gets missed. One of the things that Americans love to do is rail against the bureaucracy and say how hard it is to get anything done. Do you think it's any fucking different in terms of the immigration process? I mean, come on. I heard some clip of fucking interview JD Vance talking about this stuff, trying to whitewash everything by saying like, well, we want to be humane. We don't want to be inhumane. You know, like I'm not going to waive all rights, just a lot of them because for immigrants or whatever. And I just screamed and turned it off because I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is beyond the pale. This is beyond inhumane.
Scum. Vile scum.
There's a quote from an immigration attorney in this article, and she's talking about who's getting detained and why it's a little bit chaotic because they're doing what's easiest to do.
Yeah, whatever they can get away with, whoever they can grab, right?
Yeah, quote, "It's totally random. This is the stupidity of it. There's no way for you to determine who's going to be picked up and who's not. You may show up for a scheduled hearing and get picked up. You may be driving and get pulled over. It's really, really crazy right now." You know, we were just, you know, they signed the House bill gives a ton more money to ICE for these operations. So it's now going to be these people showing up for their naturalization meetings, plus a bunch more people getting ripped off the street. But this is just another example, just the latest story we've heard about where reporters were able to speak to him and his family and detail it. And not that it matters, not that maybe anyone on the right will care, but he's a white guy from Denmark who lived in Mississippi.
It's a bummer that that was one of my thoughts reading the story where it's like, well, maybe they'll care about this one because he happens to be white and he's from Denmark. Like maybe this is the one where it's like, well, he did all this stuff and this stuff and this stuff, and he went through like the proper channels. He missed a form, sorry, but he's white, so maybe.
But they'll just care about. They'll be like, oh, that's not right. Right? If there's a big furor over it, they'll get him out. But everyone else, where the circumstances are identical, but the person, you know, came from Guatemala instead of Denmark, they won't get that benefit of the doubt. I hope they all get out.
I hope they all get out. I hope that
is Casper Ericson a gang member? Does he have any tattoos? Maybe, yeah. Right.
Maybe you'll get sent to El Salvador, Venezuela, South Africa, not South Africa, other parts of Africa.
But yeah, South Sudan. They're sending people to South Sudan now.
Well, we did it.
Is there other good news? Twitter's kind of down right now. That's good news.
That's good news.
We like when Twitter's down.
The tush push isn't banned. Anyone in football care about that? Tush push? No? You don't know what I'm talking about? Okay.
The new season of Hacks is kind of fun.
I started watching The Real Mormon Wives or whatever that show is about the Mormon wives.
Okay.
It's good.
Any thoughts on that?
It's fine. It's interesting. It's one of those things where it's like, you watch a reality show and you're like, oh, wow. But you're like, it's a reality show. They're like, in a way, being told what to do and say. But there's some interesting tensions between Mormonism and the lives these young women would like to lead. But that's not news. And I wouldn't even call it good. So I don't know what to say.
I'm seeing Mission Impossible on Saturday.
Yeah.
Apparently a little disappointing, but I will sit through however many flashbacks of the previous movies you want to so I can see that weird dude hang from a plane
see him
and hold his breath for 8 minutes.
I'm going through the entire series now.
Are you?
Yeah.
Most of it is great.
Fun, good news. Housekeeping. We will not be doing a show on Monday because it is a holiday. One of them.
It is
Memorial Day.
real
It's
one.
Memorial Day. It's a real one. So we won't do a show Monday, but we will have the other shows next week, and that'll be good. Oops, just knocked over my drinks.
No, you didn't. You caught him.
But I caught them. But I did knock
Exactly.
over 2 drinks and caught them. That's
good.
some good news.
That's
to
some good
end on,
news.
I think.
Yeah.
It doesn't get better than that. All right.
All
Have
right.
a good weekend, you guys. Thanks
You too.
for being here. Also, we love you very much.
Oh my God. I can't believe you said that.
I said it. Okay.
Much.